To celebrate the centenary of the Turkish Republic, we'd like to introduce you to some treasures from the Skilliter Centre for Ottoman Studies Library and Archive collections. The Eckstein Albums are an important visual source for early Turkish Republican history. They are held in the Centre's archive and available online via Cambridge University Digital Library. Dr. Albert Eckstein fled Nazi Germany and was invited to Turkey by the Minister for Health, Dr. Refik Saydam, where he carried out groundbreaking work in maternal and infant healthcare. Eckstein was a gifted photographer as well as an eminent paediatrician, and this photo collage depicts celebrations for Cumhuriyet Bayramı, the national holiday that marks the establishment of the Republic on the 29th of October. This photograph shows the celebrations that took place in Ankara in 1935 through the eyes of a refugee doctor. Through his lens, Eckstein captured festivities on the ground and in the sky, then curated the photos on this page of his personal albums, and so immortalized the Republican spirit as he saw it. Eckstein commemorated this Republican holiday in another photograph too, which he annotated with the date, 1935, and the German caption Zug zum Cumhuriyet Bayram. This photograph, of a group of men and women going to celebrate Cumhuriyet Bayramı, shows how the national holiday caught the attention of people from villages outside Ankara. The convoy in this image features a group of villagers participating in the official parade on the 29th of October 1935. Perhaps the women pictured here, joining the ceremony on horseback, were the mothers of fallen soldiers. Cumhuriyet newspaper reported the following day that these mothers were watched with great admiration and love. One woman appears to be leading the group from the front, resting the Turkish flag on her shoulder with one hand and lifting a cigarette to her mouth with the other. Her unflinching glance towards the Eckstein's camera demonstrates how much self-confidence Turkish women and the republic they'd fought for had gained in the short period of 12 years since its foundation. Among the treasures of the Centre's library are copies of the first edition of Nutuk in Arabic script and its first English edition, published in 1929. Nutuk is the text of a speech that Mustafa Kemal Atatürk gave for 36.5 hours in total at the Second Congress of the Republican People's Party between the 15th and 20th of October 1927, in which he presented the history of the period from 1919 to 1927. This first edition Nutuk, from Susan Skilliter's own library, has been bound in red and is very well preserved. The first volume of this 2-volume work is the main text that Atatürk read. The second comprises accompanying documents. First editions of Nutuk were given a serial number, and Dr. Skilliter's copy is number 5939. Although the title page dates the volumes published in Ankara by Türk Tayyare Cemiyeti, the Turkish Aeronautical Association, as 1927, we know that Atatürk gave his speech towards the end of that year, so the book was actually published and distributed in 1928. Maps are included separately at the end of the first volume, printed in colour on thin paper in Vienna. There is another first edition Nutuk in the library collection. This copy belonged to distinguished sociologist and historian Professor Niyazi Berkes. This copy is number 27,621, and its condition shows that it was well used rather than well preserved. The volume of documents that accompanies the Nutuk is not included in our Niyazi Berkes collection, and although there are maps kept inside the book, they are incomplete. It is clear that Berkes read his Nutuk line by line. He underlined relevant points and made notes in the margins. The fact that Berkes, who was born in 1908, took the notes we find here and in his other books in Arabic script makes this volume all the more distinctive. Our library also holds English copies of Nutuk, published by K. F. Kohler in Leipzig in 1929, with the title A Speech Delivered by Gazi Mustafa Kemal, President of the Turkish Republic, October 1927. The first of these also belonged to Niyazi Berkes. There are marks to highlight particular points in this volume, which also looks more well used than well preserved. But Berkes did not make comprehensive notes in this copy, unlike in the Turkish volume. Also unlike the Turkish first edition, the maps in the English Nutuk were printed on thicker paper and preserved inside the book. One copy of the 1929 English edition belonged to Susan Skilliter. This book is also in good condition, bound in hardback with the title printed on the cover. Although the publication details are the same on the Skilliter and Berkes copies, the size and paper quality are clearly different. The last page of this volume also includes handwritten notes in English and marked passages at various points. The English maps, printed on thick paper at the end of the book, are in excellent condition. The dedication on the first page of the book shows that this volume was gifted to Susan Skilliter, most likely while she was in Turkey visiting the Çankaya Presidential Library. The dedication, dated 28th of April 1960, reads, "To my colleague Miss Susan Skilliter, I present Nutuk as a souvenir in Atatürk's library, at his desk, and in his undying presence." It was from Nazire Özel Şahingiray, who would become a member of the Senate for the Justice Party after the 1961 elections. We think that Şahingiray gave this copy to Susan Skilliter when she was a librarian at the Presidential Library. Susan Skilliter's interest in acquiring first editions of Nutuk was not limited to the Turkish and English editions. Some parts were translated into French by the eminent Turkologist Professor Jean Denis. This translation, with Professor Denis' introduction, appeared in the first two issues of Revue des Études Islamiques, published in 1927. Susan Skilliter took a photocopy of the first part with a copy of the journal itself and had them bound in blue with Ghazi Mustafa Kemal Pasha printed on the back of the book. We can see from the stamp that the original copy of the journal was held in the collection of l'Istituto per l'Oriente in Rome. On the 100th anniversary of the Turkish Republic, examining the provenance and marginalia of the various copies of Nutuk in the Skilliter Center Library offers us new insight into how this great work by the founder of the Republic has been owned, used, and preserved by different academics over the years.